Today we are pruning apple trees. Typically there are two ways to prune apple trees in there. So that's one is the vase and then one is a central leader. It all depends on what you prefer as your tree. We prefer the style of a central leader instead of a vase. A vase would be if you trimmed the leader off and then use these scaffolding branches as your main branches, but we like to have a taller tree with your scaffolds. So we like to pick, you want to pick 4 main branches in an area that are going in opposite directions. Typically one that way, back towards me, that way, and then that way. And then make those your first set of scaffolding branches. And then you want to leave probably like 3 to 4 to 5 spaces of bud in between your next set of scaffolding that go your opposite way. So for this example, I would get rid of this one that's real low just for field maintenance if you want to come through with a tractor or animals, keep your branches up off the ground. So I would get rid of that low one to start, and then I would so sometimes it's difficult when you buy trees from a nursery because sometimes they're already pruned where you don't want them to be. So I'm gonna probably get rid of this one, even though it's nice, it's just not gonna work. And then that one and that one. So I'm gonna pick this one, and this one. And then there's another thing that I've learned where you do a notch on the branch above a bud that has not put out yet. And what that branch does, or what that notch will do, so I'm gonna pick this one. Goose, be quiet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick this one that hasn't branched, or we'll go with this one. So what a tree does is it's sending signal up here to grow up. So what this, it kind of fools the scaffolding branch. So what you're gonna do is you take your knife, go above your bud, and just give it a nice deep notch. So then that bud is fooled into thinking this tree is cut here. So it's always gonna wanna grow up as a central leader. So you fool that bud to be the leader and it'll send a shoot out this way. So since this is a young apple tree, we're trying to get the shape of it and the structure the way we want it. And that's just one way to manipulate it. So I notch that one, so we'll have a branch this way, this branch going this way, this one going that way, and then this little one over here going this way. So because this is a short or a young tree, what we can do is make a heading cut on your branches here. So what you want to do is find an outward growing bud. So a bud that's growing out this way, like this one's growing up this way. We don't want it to grow up to grow fruit. We want it to grow out. So I'm going to pick, there's a bud right here underneath that's growing out. So at a diagonal, and another thing is your pruners. You have a flat side and a fat side. When you do your cutting, keep your flat side up against the bud instead of your fat side. It reduces your chance of damaging that bud. So you got your flat side and you got your bud here at an angle. You don't want to cut it flat. At an angle, you trim it. So that's going to create fruiting wood or more wood. It'll turn this into wood instead of just a flimsy branch. Then I'm going to do the same over here. So I have a bud that's already growing out right there. So I'm going to take my flat end at a 45. I'm going to trim this one growing up. And then that one will grow out. And then to keep it even, we're going to come up to our next scaffolding set. So we're going to get rid of this one. This one's not in there. So you have your first scaffolding set, space, and then your next set. So then we have this one going this way, this one going that way, this one going out that way, and then this one going out that way. So same thing, we want to pick an outward growing bud, growing back out the same way. Flat side down to the bud, cut it at an angle. Same thing over here. Find an outward growing bud. I'm gonna pick this one here. Flat side against your bud, cut at an angle. And then same thing on this one. We're gonna choose that one. No, I think this one up here. Cut it there. Same thing on this side. Cut it there. So then the next set of your scaffolding pruning branches will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Your first set, one that I notched, 2, 3, 4, and then we keep our central leader. And then over the year, we can also help by these buds here. You can just break those buds off, so then they won't even grow a branch. It'll help you in the long run, because next year these are going to want to grow out. So get rid of them then. It'll save energy for these branches to grow instead. So then we'll have our space here. And then next year, ideally, we would do the same thing that we just did to these branches right here.
All done?
All done. So this is an example of cutting on the collar. So this wasn't a cut I made. This was a cut one of the nurseries made. But you can see where they had cut it right there. And now that the tree is getting older, the collar is now growing over it. So it's like putting a Band-Aid on itself to where that was, and it's healthy. It's nice hard wood in there, so there's no fungus in there, which is what you want. All right, so now we've come to one of our peaches that I've neglected in the last couple of years of pruning. So unlike the apple where we like the central leader, peaches you want to have the vase shape. You want to have in your center nice and cleared out and airy. So what we're going to start with is, just like the other one, clean up any lower branches that are just going to be in the way of maintenance of the orchard. We'll get rid of this one, this one, that one, this one. I'm going to keep this one for now that's growing off of our rootstock, so I can mound up dirt, have it root where the dirt is, and then I'll be able to pick one of these peaches that we like the best and graft onto that, cut it off, and then we have a whole new peach tree on a dwarf rootstock. So I'm going to leave that there for now until the spring. Then same thing with this one. I'm cutting all these off because we already have our main growing branches up here, and these if we run chickens through here, we don't want the chickens eating our fruit off of them. Get rid of that. Oh, and another thing I neglected to say before, when you're pruning, there's your branch, and then right here is called the collar. So when you're pruning, you don't want to cut right up against it and ruin your collar. So for like disease maintenance and stuff, you want to cut a little bit above it, so you have this right here, that right there. It gives it a better chance of not getting fungus in there and rotting. It'll scab over and heal more, like, better. This one now, that one. I'll take this one off. Sorry. So now that we've got those all out, what we then want to look for is any inward growing branches that are growing towards our center that we want to keep cleared out. So I'm not going to worry too much about from like my head height up about it growing in, because those can be pruned off later. So what I'm just going to worry about keeping our like chimney cleared out here. So I think I'm gonna leave this branch kind of here, but I'm gonna trim this one off because it's growing up to this branch here. And then I think I'm gonna leave those because ideally this will like give us another fruiting branch later on. In this space that there's no growth, there's no branches here really growing. So we'll eventually train this branch to come out this way and grow fruit off of this branch. And then there's this one here that's growing into our center. So we'll get rid of that. This one, I'm gonna make the decision to take off. And then same thing here, even this one, small. It's not gonna do anything yet to prevent any other growth, but we'll just get that off. We'll take this one here too. So then we get our nice cleaned out space here. There's nothing growing towards the center. And then, so for this fruiting branch, same thing as the apple, you want to pick an outward growing bud. Take it at the angle. So this one's outward growing. Take it at the angle with your flat side. Cut that off. That's a heading cut. And then same thing. I think with this one I'm going to get the ladder because I don't want to bend it too far. Okay, Hank. And same thing. I want to pick an outward growing bud. So out. And then right here. Cut that off. Leave these ones. So anything that is red and about pencil size is going to be your, like where your fruit's going to grow off of your peaches. So you want to avoid cutting a lot of those ones off. This one is like a height management for us because we don't want this to go astronomical. We want to be able to, with a small ladder such as this, be able to, if we needed to, just come up here and pick fruit. So then we'll move over to this one. And then any crossing branches that are growing, so this one, this branch here is growing up to this nice big branch. So we're gonna take this one off above the collar, like that. And then same thing, we're gonna come up here. This one's kind of growing over that way to that tree. So I wanna pick a bud that's growing outwards away from that branch. So I'm gonna pick this one here. This one will grow out this way. Or maybe, yeah, that one. So then cut there. And then maybe, I think I'll take a little off of this one to a bud that's going out this way. Cut that. And then move over to our other room. So this little one's growing over to that branch. So I'm going to take that one. Any crossing branches. That one. That one. And I think I'll, because this one's growing back over that way, I'm going to cut it there. Cut here. Oh, that was a bad cut. There. And then up here. Outward facing. Up there. And this one, I'm gonna pick a bud growing out this way. Cut there. And then I think one more just on this one. Manage the height. There. And that's pretty, maybe we'll make a heading cut on this one too, right here. So also when you're doing this, some of the, like these are like flimsy branches. So when you're trying to get the structure of your tree, like pruning it helps it become wood like this. It's harder, more stable. So you wanna, it might seem like excessive sometimes, but for the overall of the structure of the tree, because like if it's a weak tree and it sets fruit, then that fruit will weigh these ones down, and like it'll end up breaking your your branches off. So you want to be able to create wood that can actually hold your fruit. And then go along and any dead pieces, like that's a dead piece, you want to cut back to a fresh bud or branch. So I'm going to cut this back to there here. I gotta tighten these up, they're a little loose. That one can just break off. Get rid of these little ones in here too. These aren't gonna do anything. That's dead. And that's pretty much, I mean, and then just, you know, just take a look, walk around it, see if there's any other ones. And I think I'm happy with this. And I think that will be it. And that's how you do a peach tree. Vase style, keep your center cleared out. And yeah, thanks. So these are older examples of what a open center vase one is, and then a central leader. So we have our central leader that goes straight up, and then we have our first set of scaffolding. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got our space, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, all going in the different directions. And then we have our other space, and then we have our other set of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This year, this tree this year actually had another tree growing off of this way, which was, I should have cut it earlier, but I didn't. So we got rid of that, cut it above the collar, so this, and at an angle downwards. So if I cut it any higher or any lower, it could have, the integrity of the whole branch here could have been bad. So I cut it here. This will heal over at an angle, so any rain or anything will wash down off of it. And then this one, we didn't prune this tree this way. This one came from the nursery as this. So they would have, like with this one, you would have cut here, just like this one was cut here, and then maintained these as a vase shape, which is what we've had to do because of it. So you let them grow up, get sturdy, get wood, and then each one of these will be your fruiting branches. And actually, this will be fruit. That's a fruiting bud. That's a fruiting bud. These are spurs, fruiting spur, all these little ones. So ideally, if we don't get a late frost this year, all this fruiting spurs and branches will all have fruit on them this year. And then another thing about pruning is you want your under branches cleared of a branch like that. So let's cut that off. And I've already pruned these for the most part, so, but I should prune this one down a little bit. Prune that off. But these are your two examples of what a central leader and the vase shape.